Despite it being the middle of winter and the Epiphany frosts, things are getting really hot in Russia. A tropical summer has come to Mordor not because of global warming, but because of a global drone apocalypse that Ukraine has unleashed on the occupiers.
Official media are publishing the results of strikes by the Ukro-Nazi forces deep inside our territory. They happily publish reports of fires. Is it even possible to pass a law or not? Just out of curiosity, is there any accountability at all? Have we learned anything at all in these 3 years? Anything whatsoever? Ukrainian forces doing operations.
Someone landed on agro mushroom.
Watching oil refineries burn has become the latest trendy pastime for Russians. In Kaluga, a blazing oil depot has replaced the movie theater. A drone flew right behind our hangar 228. 8 of them flew by, 1 behind. Then some headed toward Moscow, some were shot down, 1 landed somewhere. Watching a burning oil refinery has become a trendy pastime for Russians. In Kaluga, a blazing oil depot has taken the place of cinema. They hit it, didn't they?
There they are, over here. I'll send it right now.
Admit it, this is better than going to see Cheburashka. The oil storage facility in the Voronezh region has been burning for the 4th day. And in Engels, Saratov region, they haven't been able to put out the strategic aviation fuel depot for 10 days now. But the special military operation is going according to plan, because the Kremlin matrix has lost touch with reality.
I state this with full responsibility. We have the best air defense in the world, and no one has anything better than our air defense. There is none today, and the fact that sometimes some drone manages to reach quite deep inside on the one hand, that's even a good thing, because we gain experience in repelling massive raids.
Just think about it. Strikes deep inside Russia are beneficial for Russia. The destruction of a strategic aviation base, what could be better? We agree, nothing. And the destruction of a chemical military plant in the Bryansk region, which produces gunpowder and explosives, that's simply a godsend.
Attention, Bryansk region, missile threat. If possible, go down to the basement or move to a room without windows. Attention, dynamic music.
We don't even talk about the oil refineries that are constantly on fire anymore. That's become just as normal in Russia now as cop TV shows.
The TV?
Yeah!
Did you try to set it up?
How am I supposed to fix it?
But you won't try to fix it?
I will.
While a state Duma deputy is rejoicing over the massive strikes by Ukrainian drones and missiles on the territory of Muscovy, ordinary Russians, to put it mildly, are not very happy about what's happening. In other words, they're terrified by this kind of demilitarization of Ukraine.
Our region has been subjected to numerous drone attacks, which has dealt such a colossal and devastating blow to my mental state. It's been a very long time since anything like this happened. I study history, and when I watch documentaries about the Great Patriotic War, where you could hear the alarm sirens, the air raid warnings, when people were running to shelters, when planes were flying overhead and there were explosions, I used to say, my God, how terrifying that must be. Thank God I will never see or hear anything like that. But unfortunately, it turned out that all of this is happening in real life now.
The bombing of Russian cities is a direct consequence of Russians not being interested in politics. They're used to believing everything the television tells them. Well, let them keep believing it now as they watch Ukrainian Palyanitsia flying overhead, that Russia has the best air defense in the world.
Once again, we have an emergency here in Kuban. Last night, on November 15th, there were explosions in the village of Poltavskaya, supposedly from debris. 2 houses were damaged, and the residents of Poltavskaya are frightened. I just spoke with an acquaintance from Poltavskaya. He said, Marina, people are in shock. People are already having these kinds of conversations. They're saying outright, Putin didn't ask us when he started the special military operation. We could have told them about the Ukrainian mentality, since in our hamlets and villages, more than half the people are Ukrainians, and they speak Surzhyk. We know well their national traits, this stubbornness, vindictiveness. They don't want what belongs to others, but they'll fight for what's theirs.
Constant, precise strikes on military and oil infrastructure have dealt a devastating blow to Kremlin propaganda as well. Solovyov was so hysterical, he nearly smashed the TV screen from the inside.
Tell me, please, who in our country is responsible for the air defense system deep inside our territory? If attacks on Engels keep happening again and again, and each time we brilliantly handle the task, we destroy everything, shoot everything down, but those damn debris pieces always set things on fire so badly that we have to spend a long time putting out the aftermath of the falling wreckage.
Maybe that's enough of this nonsense already? Who's to blame for what got through?
The funniest thing is that the pot-bellied eggplant is outraged by the authorities' lies, even though he's the main spreader of those lies himself. Wasn't it in his studio that they talked about having the best air defense? Wasn't he the one shouting at the top of his lungs about having the strongest army in the world? Wasn't he one of the creators of that negatively ingenious newspeak with all the pops, gestures of goodwill, and debris that are more destructive than a hydrogen bomb?
You know, I really don't like that newspeak. When we shot it down, well, the debris fell and caused. Let's not play these games! Let's remember, there's a war going on!
It's still unclear why the Ukrainian armed forces don't just launch debris at Russia, which, when shot down, would break up into even more dangerous fragments.
Unfortunately, this story hardly resembles a comedy. It's more of a tragic farce.
Apparently, it was with such fragments of fragments that they smashed the aircraft plant in Kazan, where the Tu-160 and Tu-22 strategic bombers are repaired. So, in a country with the best air defense in the world, a Ukrainian drone, moving at the speed of an intercity train, flies unhindered for 1,500 kilometers and calmly strikes a military facility plant that repairs nuclear-capable carriers.
Today, Kazan in the Republic of Tatarstan was attacked by drones. Among the targets of the air raid are said to be local industrial enterprises. People in Kazan were complaining about the drone attack almost all night and into the morning.
By the way, there's a new term that's been added to the newspeak controlled burnout.
Wait, what the?
Controlled burnout, in simple terms, is when the Ministry of Emergency Situations can't put out a burning oil depot and just waits for it to burn out on its own. Just so you understand, in Engels, firefighters have been heroically controlling the fire for 10 days straight.
As the regional Gauleiter Roman Busargin officially wrote on his Telegram channel, the process of controlled fuel burnout is currently ongoing.
There are many controlled burnouts in Russia that the Ministry of Emergency Situations has run out of firefighting resources.
The stock of foaming agents has run out because a fire like the one at the oil depot in Engels can't be extinguished with water, so you need to use foam to put out such fires. But it's impossible to use foam because the foaming agents are gone since oil depots are burning all over Russia, and the Ministry of Emergency Situations apparently didn't take much care about that. No one was actually preparing for war. Were they planning to take Kyiv in 3 days? And so that's how they ran out of foaming agents and switched to controlled burning.
They could try putting it out, like in Korny Chukovsky's stories, with pies and pancakes and dried mushrooms. Maybe at least they'll manage to cook some soup from the leftover aviation kerosene.
The main thing in any national cuisine is soup. Soup is the soul of the people.
Even the Z-Patriots have started to get suspicious. Subversive questions have appeared. Why does the Russian Aerospace Forces headquarters even exist? What is its purpose? What do the dozens of generals who command the world's best air defense actually do?
I don't know.
For some reason, neither the largest number of anti-aircraft systems, nor hundreds of fighter jets, nor dozens of radars are helping. It's gotten to the point where imperialists and Z-propagandists have openly started to envy Ukraine because the Ukrainian air defense works much better than the sacred one.
Today, unfortunately, we still don't know how many drones are crossing our border. I look at the Ukrainian system and I start to envy them because as soon as the Germans are launched, they already know in which directions, how many, and where. But here we only detect drones when they're already approaching. And when I watch illegal footage, which by the way, people should really be punished for showing how feebly they try to shoot back near some very important facility, you know, I realize that there is no local air defense either.
All that's left for Kremlin propaganda is to explain to Russians that the bombing of their cities is normal and that they just need to get used to it.
I want to remind you that the enemy can only reach a few hundred kilometers, and that most 4 or 5 regions are under threat, which, well, we'll just have to endure. There's a war going on, people need to somehow come to terms with it. Or they can just relocate. We have empty space in Siberia, and the north is undeveloped, while the rest of the country continues to live a normal life, and no one cares about what's happening in Kursk.
300 to 400 kilometers is very outdated information, considering that Kazan and Saratov are burning. And the fact that Russians don't care about what's happening in other regions of their so-called country is just that, a fact. While the border regions of Kursk, Belgorod, Bryansk and Rostov were being bombed, no one else was affected. Well, there are battles going on in Kursk region. Well, there are 100,000 refugees. Well, the residents of Sudzha are protesting and demanding housing. It's more interesting to find out if Kirkorov will appear in the New Year's Ogonyok after his kitty incident.
Kitty, could you maybe please give me a little brother?
First of all, when nothing like that has ever happened to you, when you haven't heard the wail of an air raid siren, when there haven't been any attacks, and no one warned you, no one said, "Don't go outside, things are about to get crazy," you will never understand another person. The well-fed will never understand the hungry, and the hungry will never understand the well-fed. When I watched and read the news about Belgorod, Kursk, Voronezh, Bryansk, I empathized with the people. I imagined how it might feel, but I didn't experience it myself.
Like the saying goes, the problems of the people in Kursk don't bother the rest of the Russians. The special military operation is going according to plan. But when the siren wailed outside their own window, suddenly everyone noticed the war. Suddenly everyone remembered that trillions of people's money had been spent on the army. Suddenly everyone started asking, are their leaders in their right mind?
Allow me to ask some specific questions for everyone, without exception.
Dear comrade! He's talking about socks. I'm trying to answer the questions.
We're talking to the people, not to you.
The Russians were a bit late in activating their brains. Ukraine plans to produce and accordingly deploy about 30,000 long-range drones, plus 3,000 domestically produced long-range missiles, plus thousands of drones and hundreds of missiles to be supplied by allies. The year 2025 will be remembered for a long time by the pseudo-empire and its silent subjects. For the occupiers, the ground will burn not only in Ukraine, but also in the swamps. Russians, of course, can hope for the best air defense system in the world and the best geostrategist in the world. But it would be better, of course, to grab pitchforks and march on the Kremlin. Only that can stop the Ukrainian inferno.
I just can't. I'm honestly not ready to come to terms with the fact that my life depends on some old people. I'm just really, really tired. Some people I've never even seen in my life. That's just how life turned out. Yeah, they're over there. And I'm here. And for some reason, they're the ones making decisions about things like the Iron Curtain, saving people who never asked to be saved, and these absurd laws where you can twist the facts any way you want. And the main thing is, none of this really affects their own lives at all.
I would like to remind you that this video is created for entertainment purposes and contains elements of satire and irony. All facts and events are presented in a hyperbolized or exaggerated form to convey a comedic or dramatic effect. Our goal is not to mislead, but to highlight humor. Please take it with a smile.